Jay, so pumped to have the opportunity to talk to you. We obviously spend many hours talking every week, but I wanted to have you here on our Cutting Through the Noise podcast because I find that a lot of manufacturers, they're getting information overload. They're getting podcasts, they have different trade shows, different events, whether that's the modern machine shops, the fabricators of the world, whether it's IMTS, where there's thousands of exhibitors. There's so much information flying around the industry, and I find that interest in manufacturing technology has never been greater. And so, as I was having this conversation with a few of our team members, we said, well, why don't we just record these conversations and share what we think is real versus what we think is a lot of hype so that people don't have to waste time wondering. And that's where it came to AI. Like we were talking about AI nonstop. We're talking about it from the perspective of a software company, but I'm also hearing about it from our customers in really good lights and really scary lights. And there's not really another person that I know that spends more time learning about, exploring the state of reality and the state of possible than you. So I felt like it'd be a great opportunity for us to chat about it. Why don't we start with let's go back to Rapid for a second. So you built this incredibly tech forward company.
Mhm.
How did you like put yourself in our shop owner's shoes today? How did you field all of the different information and all of the different innovation that was taking place without getting too scattered? Like, how'd you call your shots? What did that look like?
Well, I'm gonna step back, and I heard early in my career, and I don't remember the MIT professor, but his saying was innovate, automate, or evaporate. And I think that that is ringing true even more so today. And it's how we approach things at Rapid. We were growing so fast. We did not have the labor pool of qualified people to hire, and we were not able to train everyone to the existing ways that things were done. So we had to figure out a different way of doing it. And originally, I myself and the general manager were the people trying to figure that out. And what we quickly learned was that we had some ideas, but the best ideas often came from the people who were doing the work. And so what we quickly pivoted to was giving the freedom to people. And sometimes that was just time. Sometimes that was also a little bit of money, allowing them to experiment, these micro experiments. And some of them took off. A lot of them failed. That was fine. Really wasn't a lot of cost. But the ones that took off are the ones that really created the backbone of technology at Rapid. And I'll give you an example. Uh, our lead estimator started getting carpal tunnel syndrome because he was quoting so much, so many mouse clicks. So we bought him a programmable mouse, and that worked great, except it was someone sitting there watching these mouse clicks, and literally we created these macros that might run for 10 minutes with occasional inputs. And I was just too slow. So that's when we started to get into SolidWorks API. And then that led into learning C programming. And he was a valuable estimator. So we had to hire someone to implement the projects. And that person came from a Votech school who had a little manufacturing background and some programming. And they had ideas. So the letting the people run with these projects was how we were able to implement what was current, try the experiments. Even if we failed, if we learned something, it wasn't a failure.
You know, Jay, I think that mindset is really interesting. And I want to just double click on something that you said for a second. You said a lot of them failed and some took off, and that was okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
And
how did you get okay with the fact that a lot of these things were not going to pay off? Because I find that a lot of the shop owners that I talk to, they are measuring 10 times before they cut once, and it slows down the pace of things.
yeah, so a couple things. Don't let uh, perfect get in the way of good enough. And also the eh, the success we had, and and it was also liberating for me. I didn't have to do it, and then I saw the joy and the morale improvement of people when they were involved. So it was a win from all these different areas. Um, and this was not only in estimating and the engineering and that, this was on the shop floor. We were constantly trying things on the shop floor. One failure was stamping. We were trying to figure out how to do prototype stampings. We just never were able to make that happen. However, we learned a lot of other things along the way that we were able to apply to sheet metal manufacturing. And so maybe it came out as a draw, but if you look at things as expenses, then you are really taking a negative look at how you spend money. Whereas if you look at these as investments and what I call the micro investments, then you limit your downside and create tremendous upside and what I called asymmetric risk. So I was always looking for ways that I could implement asymmetric risk into the shop.
Hmm, very cool. So now that we're in that mindset, fast forward to today,
Mhm.
and you're still at the helm of Rapid mentally. Obviously, we know you're no longer running that business, but
Yeah.
now you look at what's going on in the world with AI.
Mhm.
Where how do you separate the wheat from the chaff? Like, what's if you're a shop owner, where are the areas that you're looking, and where are the areas that if your people are coming to you saying, "We wanna do X," how do you put the guardrails up? Because 'Cause I'm guessing there's a little bit more risk, or at least we're seeing a little bit more risk in the way AI is getting employed or, the way information is being loaded into AI models.
You have a lot more knowledge of the security risks, so I'm not going to speak to that. The risks of you I guess the way I looked at it was, and this wasn't AI, but it would be AI today, is we always wanted to automate the route so that people could do the value add. And I think a great example is how Paperless has taken the time through the bomb builder of quote setup time. And work is not static. You know, people don't go home at the end of the day and they like, okay, I got everything done. There's always more to do. And there's some things that have to be done that can be automated. You have to do them though, even though they're not automated. But would you get more value by entering a bomb or by calling a customer and using the wisdom that you have and coupling it with their desires for lead time, for part quality, for cost? Those conversations are opened up when you use automation tools, and AI is just another way to automate.
See, I love this automate the rope. So I tend to find that a lot of companies that we talk to are trying to solve the hardest problems in their business with AI. And I think of that as like I understand the desire to do that. And at the same time, I'm would much rather pick the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
The rote tasks that are so repetitive that people hate doing every day. Now you're not solving the hardest problem, but you're freeing up your humans to go and do it.
What's the saying? If you improve 1% every day, then where are you at the end of the year?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It's definitely a mindset because I think I the way I've heard our customers explain it, once they've gone through onboarding and once they start using the product, is it's kinda like back pain. You live with back pain for a decade, and then all of a sudden, somehow it gets fixed and you just realize, "Oh my god, I've been living with pain for a decade and I didn't even know it." And I find that sometimes these rote tasks just fall below that pain threshold where you actually
Mhm.
pay attention to them, but on the whole, they're incredibly debilitating.
Yeah. I think if you also start small, you get wins under your belt, and that gives you the confidence, and you can make those. wins happen very quickly, and you can also involve everyone. And I'm going to throw out that AI, the LLMs, ChatGPT, one of the best ways to get people to use them is not only in work, but give them a little bit of training, encourage them to figure out how to use it in their personal life as well. And Terry, who works for me as my chief of staff, she had a scavenger hunt that she wanted to set up for her daughter's birthday party. She typed in all the parameters into ChatGPT, and in a minute, she had all the things that she had to do, the list of supplies, etc. And she didn't have to think through hour, whatever, and probably miss some things for this scavenger hunt. And it was wildly successful. So she she looked at that like, wow, this is incredible. And it's encouraged her to use it in tasks that apply to what we're doing.
I've been absolutely amazed at how leveraging AI in my personal life, and I like that you defined it because I think AI has become a very blanket term today.
Mhm.
And I think that term continues to evolve at the pace of the technology, but it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Like if we talk to our co-founder, Scott Sawyer, AI is a very different concept to him and the technical work that he's doing, large data science models, rather than what it is to a lot of people today, which is a chatbot and the ability to chat with something that can derive answers based on billions of data points. And so I like that you classified it as an LLM and speaking to the personal life. So I like to cook and I have very, very limited amounts of patience and time of finding recipes, going out, buying the food, making, and I hate wasting food. I absolutely hate it. And so instead, I took the approach of taking a picture of my pantry and a picture of my refrigerator, listing what food we get. We get fish delivered once a month. And I said, look, we want to be healthy. Here are some of our goals. Here's what we like to eat. I want you to build me a weekly menu where no food gets wasted, along with a grocery list. I need full prep instructions and plating instructions. And I've done this now for 6 weeks and it's unreal. It also lets me know that it looks like in the picture, we're out of this spice by this time. It's nuts. And I never would have thought to do that. I mean, I walked out to our patio, I took a picture of our herb garden and I said, "Look, these are the herbs I have to work with." And it goes and it says, "That's great. Oh, by the way, it looks like you're watering your basil too much." Unreal.
Really?
I mean,
Yeah.
just unreal what it can do. I compare that to some of the things that I see where we're trying to process a thousand rows of data and it just falls apart after the first couple hundred rows. It's a really tough line because 'cause I'm like, "Wow, this is so possible," and yet it's just almost not there yet. And
Hmm.
trying to figure out how to draw that line and how to understand the art of capable, I think is gonna be so important for our shop owners. Like, we had a shop owner loading prints into ChatGPT, and it's like, "It's amazing. Look what it tells me off of these prints." Well, we said, "Oh my gosh, this is we're surprised too." So we opened the prints and it was making up the tolerances. They were wrong. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it, and he
Yeah.
neither could he. So it was, it's one of those things that's it's tough. What were you gonna say?
Well, I think it's important to jump in today, use it, understand the capabilities, because there's a saying in the AI world that this is the worst that it will ever be, and it will get better. So the people who wait until it's perfect are going to be behind. You want to develop the skill set, you want to develop the muscle now. And when it is good or perfect or good enough, whatever your definition is, you are ready to pounce and use that, whatever that may be. So the world is changing really fast and it will not wait for those who wait for things to be perfect.
Yeah, I think that's a really awesome piece of advice. I'm seeing AI deployed in 2 ways. I'm seeing AI, like, use this ChatGPT or Gemini or this language model.
Mhm,
And then I'm also seeing companies like ours race to build AI into our products.
mhm.
And I'd love to get your perspective on that. How did you make sure that you are taking advantage of the tools that you already had access to? I find that, when you were at Rapid, I'm sure SolidWorks got better in
Mhm,
your time from when you started at Rapid until when you finished. How did you
mhm.
stay up with that? What were you doing? Like today, you stay up on AI better than anybody else I know. How do you do it?
I listen to podcasts, primarily podcasts and YouTube videos, and it's changing so fast. I also have a lot of conversations, and then as I don't know if people, uh, know that I am not full-time at Paperless. I have other projects I like creating, and I'm working with a couple folks in creating a new business in the fitness world. The tech person has essentially using AI tools and Cursor specifically has a little bit of programming background, created an entire all the tools, software tools in the business model. Now, it's probably not scalable, but it's a good minimum viable product, as they say in the software world. So what we're looking at is that this may or may not be a good business, but we are learning how to use these tools. And when the right business opportunity comes along, we will be able to pounce on it. And we've got that skill set developed.
So I think you just said something so compelling, and it reminds me of being at Babson where they would always say, "The goal is a rough, right, and rapid prototype."
Hmm.
And you wanna do that as quickly and as cheaply as possible so you can test it and throw it out, and then test
Hmm.
another one and throw it out. And I feel like what you just outlined there, yes, it may not be scalable, but recognizing that and also recognizing that that's not the goal. If people build scalability into their first iteration of a product, I mean, how many times have we rewritten paperless parts? Had we tried to build for the 250,000 files a week that we're seeing right now, day 1, we would have built completely the wrong thing. You'd be throwing out tens of thousands of lines of code. You also mentioned Cursor. You tell people what Cursor is?
Cursor is a software tool that will help you write code, and I have not used it myself. However, what we created is something that probably would have cost 2 years ago, $250,000, probably taken 6 to 12 months. It was completed, and it's still ongoing, but what's been done has been done in less than a month by someone part-time, and he was demoing it for us, and we had suggestions. He was changing it on the fly. That was not possible. So, the ability this is the worst it will ever be. Me as a non-programmer, Cursor, Lovable, some of these other tools will probably develop. So in the next 6, 12, 18 months, I will simply be able to talk with it without any programming knowledge or background and be able to do the same thing which he just did.
So your ability to de-risk a business idea,
Mhm.
de-risk something that you want to do at scale has just dramatically improved.
Absolutely. And
Uh,
it's not only me, shop owners. And if you're a shop owner and you're not technical, find, and I love the term high agency as a person with agency gets stuff done. Person with high agency just runs through walls, gets stuff done, and they probably don't even tell you that there was a problem. Find one of those people within your company and give them the tools, maybe a little bit of time, some money, and let them loose. They know where the problems are in your shop. Tell them you don't want to solve that huge, hard problem. Let's just try and knock down a couple easy wins. Where would that be? And I remember, and again, this isn't AI, but AI, I'm sure would have solved this a lot faster. One of the things was the automation of the shipping documents that we needed at Rapid to get out the door and the shipping labels. So we had to create a link with the UPS software, and that saved so much time and probably a couple weeks of coding. That could probably be done in a couple hours now.
And I think that's finding those areas where you can have just an enormous outsized impact. I think I'm reminded of something that you have told me in the past, which is who, not how.
Mhm.
And I think what you just highlighted is people need a who. And more of the shop owners that we work with are coming and they're asking, who should we be hiring? Well, I can tell
Mhm.
you today that entry level software engineering is not a fantastic place for people to be, but it is an amazing opportunity for manufacturers.
Yeah.
Entry level software engineers, if you
Mhm.
hire one coming out of school this year into your business, I will be willing to bet anyone that the ROI is astronomical
Yeah.
because these
Yeah.
folks are not going to a lot of the big companies that are using AI to automate their jobs, but
Yeah.
they have grown up and gone through school with this technology. And I just think when people ask me, I'm like, it will be the best 120 grand you ever spend.
Yeah. I agree. And perhaps that's out of your budget. This is a little dated, but this is how we hired estimators, and eventually they became engineers at Rapid and sometimes moved into other areas. We would put an ad on Craigslist and say, "If you like to play video games, come work at Rapid." And essentially, that's what running the software on SolidWorks and all that was. And we had tremendous success attracting the right type of people because we found the people who like to play video games had that computer knowledge, the mindset, the digital first focus. And whether you're hiring on Craigslist, I don't know where you would hire them today, but those types of people, yeah, I think you want to ask them what do they do in their spare time. And for a shop owner, we were always looking for somebody who had a hands-on hobby or was super into computers.
Hmm, that's really cool. Yeah, finding the right personality, the right persona to join the business, I think is so critical. So let's shift gears. What
Let me make
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
comment first. You mentioned who, not how. I would encourage shop owners to think of AI as their new who. And what who, not how means is instead of having a task or a problem and saying, how am I going to do this? You instead say, who is going to do it? Because you probably are not the most qualified person to do it. Well, AI now is possibly that who is better qualified than you or someone else in your company to do that. So I encourage people, yes, people are who's, but AI is now another who.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. Where where's the upper bound today? Like, what would you not recommend trying to go and do or solve today? Like, where does the hype start to overtake? Like, yeah, I'm sure you've heard on a lot of podcasts the things that they sound really good, but then the average person goes to try to do it and it's not nearly as simple as it sounded. Are you seeing areas like that that you would, the potholes that you would caution folks to say, focus more on the road?
Yeah, I'd say this is a transition period. And I was in a shop this summer and they have an incredible vision inspection machine and it's paid for itself. I asked the owner how much it cost, and it's static. It only does this one task. They had to invest, think 6 figures to get it up and running. It took probably close to a year to actually put in place. And I think of AI as this is a specific purpose application, whereas the physical equipment is going to be general purpose and more programmable in the future so that you would be able to use it part-time, perhaps for this uh, part inspection, but then be able to spend it other hours in another part inspection application as opposed to having $200,000 systems. So I might be hesitant on implementing those right now and sort of waiting to see where that goes. And instead spending my time, think about where's the queue times in the shop. And I think AI, LLMs are changing so fast. Those really big problems, they might be a lot easier to solve in 6 months. So this is a time to tackle the little problems to get your team, as many people on the team up to speed, and you're essentially you're preparing. This is let's call it the practice time. So don't spend a ton of money on things that may become obsolete in 12 to 24 months.
That's really good advice. And when you look at this technology, look at programming. What would you say with programming? You probably have seen a lot of the companies out there that are trying to create instant programs from 3D geometry. Where does the rubber meet the road there?
Well, first of all, parts parts are usually not isolated just as one geometry. There's even a sheet metal part. You start making an assembly when you add hem hardware or other pieces. So, um, it's sort of that's sort of like an 80/20. You're getting 80% of the way there, but the last 20% is really hard. Um, it that's a risk.
Yeah, I think you've always said to me that side 2 is the hard side.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that a fair statement?
yeah, in machining, anybody can machine side one. It's how do you hold it on side two? Um, so the oh, yeah, well, I'm even going to step back to the early days of paperless, and we have customers now who I think they told you they wanted to make sure we were going to be around in 3 years because they were investing a lot of time and resources in their company, and they didn't want us to disappear, and that effort was wasted. And I think the same applies here, and you might want to speak to that. It's changing so fast, and the AI models, the AI companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and Google, things that companies built their whole business model, now they are being absorbed because they can be into these AI LLMs. Um, so the staying power and is the do you want to invest the time now within an area that might change and the company may not be around?
I think I think that's a really important statement. I think we've crossed that chasm at Paperless Parts, but for the first 5 years of being in business, we would hear on sales cycles, "No, we don't know if you're gonna be here next year, so,
Yep.
we're not gonna go, hitch our cart to your horse." And I think
Mhm.
now that we're a bit more established, we don't really hear that anymore. But I do think it's a very good point. A lot of people take flyers on a lot of software companies, and sometimes it doesn't work out. And trying to figure out what's what and what's worthy of your time investment. Like, I think the time is actually worth a lot more than the money.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I've been seeing as well, especially as it relates to AI, the ability to analyze data and the ability for AI to build basic workflows with software
Mhm.
is incredible. And It's not necessarily using Cursor, but you can build very basic tools and you can query data very, very quickly. And I think I think those are areas that I would look to. Some of the best shops that I've been in, they've liberated from the legacy workflows that live inside of their ERP, their MES, and they've built their own custom workflows with their own custom notification logic, their own custom Kanban boards to track scheduling and whether they have the tools they need. And I find that that type of business process management software, I think there are like workflow tools like that are now very easy to build. And you can decide, you can build those inside of other products. There's a Microsoft has an enormous amount of AI built into Excel. You talked about building macros. That is something that was always beyond my abilities as an Excel jockey. Like I can write the formulas, but when it comes to writing macros, that's probably stretching my capabilities. And so, but that's done. Like that's over. You don't need to be able to write macros anymore. Microsoft will do that for you, just like Google Sheets will build workflow tools. So I really find that that segment of software is going to get commoditized very, very quickly. And I
Yeah.
think what you're gonna see is it's actually going to go from, I tend to think that products move in a bespoke, productized, commoditized fashion. I think it's
Mhm.
actually gonna go from being commoditized to being incredibly bespoke again. Everyone will be able
Mhm.
to build a workflow that's very specific to their shop. They'll be able to build a dashboard or a model that is very specific to the data they wanna see and they wanna track on a regular basis. Um,
Mhm.
and then I think there are software tools that are like deep tech, hard tech software tools. I would say like a CAM system is an example of that, something that's doing a lot more engineering in the background. I think those tools are going to take a little bit longer to get commoditized.
Mhm. At Rapid, we used our ERP system as essentially a black box, and we took it was a SQL database. We didn't like the way that the information was presented. There was a ton of information in there, and we both wanted to use the information that was in there, but we also wanted to push information in there from uh, primarily the quoting and estimating software, which we created, which the kernel, the idea became paperless parts. So you, as a shop owner, if you have ERP software, there's probably an API, and with one of these, I like to call these guys who the high agency folks, the young Turks in your organization. Just you know, again, you have to be conscious of security, but let them see what they can grab out of there and create some nice graphs or presentations for you. Ask for information and see if that's actually contained in there and able to be presented in a way that you as a shop owner or a manager can use it. Um, there is so much data, and that's why work is not finite. It's the when we are able to automate the road, now we have more time to make better decisions because we can get more information and spend more time doing what we as humans do, which is the connecting dots that they just can't the AI, the LLMs just can't do. That's what's unique about us. And that's why I'm optimistic that we will continue to have value as people because yeah, there's a lot that can be automated and flow, but that again allows us to get to the decision making where our experience and wisdom will make a better decision.
Yeah, I like that. Enable humans to do what they're the best at.
Yeah,
Our one of our mottos here is that AI makes recommendations and humans make decisions.
yeah,
And that's a philosophy that we've largely baked into the way paperless parts works today. And I like that. I like that approach
mhm,
because um, I think the level of decisions that need to get made are getting higher and higher and higher stakes. And I would much rather have a diminishing pool of talent focus on their unique abilities rather than focusing on how many mouse clicks a day do they have to get through.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And people want that. They 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 want to, uh, add value, to think, to contribute to the success of the company rather than, again, I did 1,000 mouse clicks today.
That's
Set up a bunch of bombs.
even even just talking about this, Jay, some of the areas that I've seen our customers do so well start right with their inbox. The
Yeah,
amount of automation you can build into Outlook today is
yeah,
outrageously powerful. You know,
yeah,
your customers want an email every time something happens. Okay, well,
mhm.
that is doable. You can automate those notifications out to your customers. Um, yeah, a lot of opportunity. I see this as you know, it's a innovator evaporate, but what a fun time to be in manufacturing. I mean,
It made me think that, yes, the buyers want that information, but there's an opportunity for the manufacturers to give them, we'll say, a lot more information because quote follow-up is something that is often just not done
yeah.
at shops at all or done well. The same email tools can be used to automate quote follow-up and then integrate it into Paperless to keep track of, you start to get the customer history, who's buying, who's not, and that's low-hanging fruit is automate your sales follow-up process.
Oh my gosh. People always ask me, like, "How do I win more work? How do I win more work?" I'll ask, "Do you ever follow up on your quotes?" "No, we just throw them over the fence, and if they don't come back, they don't come back." It's like,
Yeah.
that's the best place to start.
A and then you free up time and you can actually have the conversations, and one of the things I trained my team to do when they were talking to someone, "Is there anyone else in your company who could use our services?"
Wow. Yeah. Amazing.
And if you want to email, and right now it's so easy if you wanted to create an email newsletter or, to we would scrape all the email addresses manually, which can be automated now, but every email that came in from a customer, we would grab every email, and then they became part of our database that would get an email from us when we were marketing.
See, that those types of activities I'm gonna give people one easy one to start with.
Mhm.
I would be willing to bet that anybody that listens to this goes to trade shows.
Yeah.
Take the exhibitor list, drop it into ChatGPT, tell
Mhm.
ChatGPT what you are looking to learn about, and ask it to develop a walking path through the trade show with a list of companies that you should see and what questions you should ask.
Yeah.
It is astounding how fast it cuts through the noise of going to a specific event and the amount of prep time it takes to get ready for that event to make it worth the investment. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. That's a great one.
So Jay, any last I know we're coming up on time here. Any last takeaways, anything that you want to share, some of the future vision of what you're seeing coming down the road? Sounds like there's a lot of exciting things happening and this is as we've been chatting here, the technology has probably been getting better.
Yeah, I think, we'll repeat some things, but start today. Use it personally, use it in business, get to know these tools, and don't listen to the naysayers who say, "Oh, I tried it and it didn't do this," because again, this is the worst it will ever be, and it will be able to do that. It may take 6 months or 12 months. This is the future. It's gonna get really weird, and I think we're all gonna have to get comfortable getting weirded out, um, but it's not going away, and it will enable us, if we harness it and we work with partners who are able to implement AI into their tools, whether in a variety of ways, whether it's hardware. Um, you want to be ready to capitalize on these, and you got to start today.
Awesome. Good stuff, Jay. Thanks for chatting with me about it. Appreciate it.
I always love talking about this stuff. Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
All
Jay,
right.
if anybody wants to follow up with you, good place to reach out.
Yeah. Jay at accelerist.com. And that is JAY at ACCELERYST.com.
Awesome. Good stuff.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Good to see you, Jason.
Yeah, good to see you too.